This week, each of David's team will claim it's them that has the genuine connection to the guest, and it's up to Lee's team to spot who's telling the truth. So, please welcome this week's special guest, Pauline. So, Richard, what is Pauline to you?
This is Pauline. Last year we met at a Snoop Dogg gig and we bonded because we were the two oldest fans in the room.
David, how do you know Pauline?
This is Pauline. When I was a cub, she was the Arcala and she had to take me out of the scout hut once for asking too many questions when we were being given a talk by the police.
And finally, Greg, your relationship with Pauline?
This is Pauline. She's my mum. She once drove past me when I was having my first fight and got out of her car to cheer me on.
Lee's team, where do you start?
Greg, how old were you on this first fight?
12?
Right. And so where was this? At school?
No.
Where was it?
Outside...
Outside the music room?
It was in a street.
In the street?
Yeah.
Who were you fighting?
I honestly can't remember his name. He was a lad and he was in the year above me. And I remember he had fairly distinctive red hair.
Is that why you fought him?
I fought him because he'd fought one of my friends.
Oh, OK, so this was like a... You were like doing a heroic gesture.
Yeah.
And he was older than you?
Yes.
What was your friend called?
Well, I'm from Shropshire, so he was called Chinese Dave.
Is everyone called Chinese Dave in Shropshire?
No, I just think he was called Chinese Dave, and I honestly don't know the reason, because he certainly wasn't Chinese. I think it's because he used to wear a hat.
No, that would be it. That would be it.
That'll be it, probably.
What was your fighting technique, do you recall?
It was a sort of windmill of bones, just like this.
Windmill of bones. I give you the windmill of bones!
What was your mum shouting at you by way of encouragement?
I mean, as I recall, it was just get in there.
Do him, yeah.
Get in there, son, is what I...
And was she there the first time you had sex?
This was in the street. Your mum was driving.
Yeah.
Past you, saw you.
She knew about the attack on Chinese...
Dave,
yeah. Who wears a hat.
So I presume she saw what was going on and thought, oh, it's good that my son is avenging Chinese Dave's...
So, did she get out of the car or just do it from the window?
Was
it a drive-by?
She got out.
Who didn't win the fight? Did your mum then... Surely she stepped in and stopped it, or did she say, keep fighting?
Well, let me tell you, Patsy, the fight came to a fairly abrupt end.
Why?
And I'm going to give you some very specific detail now.
Thank you.
Because I was chewing polos during the fight.
Please, no, you're not going to try and convince us that they came out and your mum thought it was teeth.
Hear me out. I got caught in their mouth, and literally I spat polos everywhere. And my mum went, oh no, it's teeth, it's teeth!
What's your mum called?
Pauline.
Has she got a nickname, like Heckling Pauline or anything?
No, although I would tell you, she has an impressive history, because she was in a play fight with my dad once, and he locked himself in a toilet, and to get to him in the play fight, my mum punched a hole through a door. So there's obviously a violent streak in this one. Yeah. It is true, though. It's definitely true. That is my mum.
Who's next? Who are you going to do next?
OK, so we'll go with David, shall we?
Yes.
David, just let me recap. Am I right in saying that there was a talk by the police at the Cubs?
Yeah.
And you asked one too many questions to the policeman?
Yes, I was full of questions.
What kind of questions were you asking?
Well, I was asking about various, issues involved in fighting crime.
How old were you?
I think I was about 8.
Right. What kind of crime-fighting questions were you asking?
Well, there was a problem, I felt. There was a problem with vandalism and graffiti in the area.
You know, at that age, you're supposed to be taking part rather than complaining about it. That's OK. Different upbringings, that's fine. What are the questions?
I asked a lot about the locks in Cagney and Lacey. I was, at the time, very aware of the security measures in all of those flats in New York and the big locks on the doors. And I said, why don't we have locks like that? And how can we keep burglars out if we don't have locks like that?
Right.
And the policeman was saying how you can't keep out a determined burglar. And I was saying, well, why do we lock the doors at all then? But I wasn't really aware that he was supposed to be trying to get on with the talk and the questions would happen at the end and maybe they wouldn't all be asked by me.
Where was this Cubs?
It was in Headington.
Headington?
Where I grew up.
Well, I know that. I don't think you travelled.
Yeah.
I assumed it was where you lived, otherwise that would be bonkers. Where are you from? I'm from Newcastle, but I didn't
No, my
travel.
parents had heard about a very good Cub Scout group about 400 miles away, and they thought about driving me there to get the very best training in tying. Yeah, absolutely. But
What badges did you get, David?
Don't talk about badgers in front of Richard. Richard, remind us once again of your truth.
Pauline and I met at the Snoop Dogg gig.
Where was he playing?
It was at the Forum in Kentish Town.
When was this? What year?
Last year.
Last year.
So he was called Snoop Dogg because he's been called a lot of things,
Well,
hasn't he?
he certainly has. In the olden days, he was Snoop Doggy Dogg, but now just Snoop Dogg.
Whereabouts were you in the Forum? Whereabouts were you watching the show from?
Well, we met when there was a delay, as there often is at rap concerts. There's sort of an hour delay, so I went up to the little bar.
Why is there a delay?
Well, because it's Snoop. You don't rush Snoop.
Who supported him? Did he have a support act?
Yeah, Corrupt.
What was
With a K.
With a K, wow.
With a K.
I'd have left after them.
What was his hair like, Snoop's?
Snoop's?
How was he wearing his hair?
He was wearing his hair, he had sort of cornrows, essentially.
He knows all the words, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's definitely read up on this.
Yeah. So you guys, your eyes met across the...
No, in this delay, I went up to, there's a little quieter bar upstairs, and I went up there to play a bit of Scrabble on my phone.
Oh, God.
Because I was with younger people and they were enjoying the support act, they were enjoying the fact that there was a delay and there was loud music playing, I was enjoying it less.
Yeah.
Pauline was reading a book.
Right.
So I thought, OK, she's quite bored as well of this thing. So anyway, I'm playing my thing. She said, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm playing Scrabble on my phone. She said, I didn't know you could play Scrabble on a phone. Right. So I showed her, and then we started playing Scrabble on a phone, have done ever since. And then...
Ever since? Well, you're going out with each other now.
You know what, Lee? Early days. Okay?
Have you actually met up with Maureen since?
Pauline.
You're not going to be able to dissect us with those blunt little...
So, Lee, where is this leading you? What are you thinking, Lee?
Patsy, do we believe any of these people? Because they're all sounding chronically untrue.
The Chronic, of course, was one of the first albums Snoop was on. Dr.
Why
Dre's
did you...
The Chronic.
I could see David in his Cub shorts and being worried about the graffiti. He's sort of the sort of person that it would have upset him. And he...
I'm intrigued by this like physical resemblance between Greg and the lady.
I know what you mean, yeah. Do you mind standing up, Greg, again? Would you stand next to this lady you claim to be your mother?
Next to my mum?
Well, let's call her a woman for now. Right. Now... I'm guessing, for this mean average to work out, your dad is the Jolly Green Giant.
No, but you see, Lee, it's a fact that a son has to be taller than their mum.
It's either Richard or Greg, I think. So that's my answer.
So you think it's...
I think it's Richard.
You think it's Richard? You think it's Richard or Greg?
Yeah.
Don't
Tim, say
forget
Richard.
What are you going to
the
say?
Scout hat one. The
sorry. Sorry, are you still here?
the Scout hat.
OK, I need an answer, and I really do need it now.
for David. He's trying to double bluff me at the end, so I'm going to go with
saying
David.
it's David.
And if it is David, I'll be so happy now.
You're saying it's David?
I think it's David.
OK, Pauline, would you please reveal your true identity?
My name is Pauline. I am Greg's mother. And...
Yes, Pauline is Greg's mum, and she did cheer him on when he had his first ever fight. It must have been awful to see him fighting.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Pauline.
You're welcome.